All right, so today we're diving into something pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Coins from the Trump presidency.
Mm.
Now we're basing this deep dive on some excerpts from this proposed podcast called Coin Chronicles.
Okay.
And they were going to explore what they call the Trump coin ban.
Okay.
I know what you're thinking.
No.
Coins. Really?
Right.
But trust me, there's a lot more to this than just, pocket change.
Yeah, this is actually pretty fascinating because we're not just talking about, the official coins that you would get from like the U.S. Mint.
Right.
This also includes a ton of unofficial coins that were produced by private companies, and they really kind of put their own spin on, Trump and his time in the White House.
Yeah, it's like a whole numismatic Wild West out there.
Totally.
And there are coins commemorating like everything.
Wow.
From his inauguration to, specific policies that he enacted.
Mm-hmm.
And even some that, marked, shall we say, moments that sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about it. The political climate during Trump's presidency,
Right.
I mean, it was incredibly divided. And so these coins, in a way, they kind of became like little tokens of that division.
Yeah, so before we get into all of that,
Okay.
let's start with something that I think perfectly encapsulates this whole thing. The Meiji coin.
Oh, yeah.
The one with Trump's face and the Make America Great Again slogan.
Right.
It's like a miniature billboard for his entire campaign.
And what's interesting is that coin actually predates his presidency.
Oh, wow.
Which I think really shows just how effectively he was able to tap into this sentiment that was already kind of brewing in the country.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a campaign slogan.
Right.
It became like this powerful symbol for a whole segment of the population.
Yeah, it's like this coin foreshadowed the coming storm, so to speak.
Mm.
But of course, as with like anything related to Trump, these coins quickly became very controversial.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You've got people on one side who see these coins, especially that Meiji coin, as like a badge of honor. Yeah. A way to proudly display their support for Trump.
Uh-huh.
And then you have others who view them as like symbols of division.
Oh, yeah.
Or even like, a personality cult forming around Trump.
It's incredible how like a single object, like a coin,
Right.
can become so charged.
Oh, totally. And that's exactly what makes this whole Trump coin ban so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
These coins weren't meant to be, just tucked away in some collection.
Right.
They were designed to be displayed to spark conversation, to make a statement.
Okay, so we've got this collection of coins. Some are official, some aren't.
Right.
All celebrating various aspects of Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
And we've already kind of established that they're very much intertwined with the political climate at the time.
For sure.
So let's unpack why these coins specifically sparked so much debate.
Okay, well, one example that really highlights this is the coin that commemorates Trump's summit with Kim Jong-un.
Oh, yeah.
So, this summit itself was incredibly divisive. Some people praised it as like a step towards peace, and others were condemning it.
Yeah.
They thought it was like normalizing a dictatorship.
So you have this coin that's, commemorating this event.
Right.
But the event itself is already viewed in completely different ways.
Exactly. And that's where the controversy really heats up.
Yeah.
Because for Trump supporters,
Right.
this coin was a symbol of his bold approach to foreign policy.
Right.
His willingness to engage with even the most difficult world's leaders.
Right.
But for his critics, this coin was just seen as like, glorifying a dictator, putting Kim Jong-un on the same level as the president of the United States.
Yeah, and then there are the design choices themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think only add fuel to the fire.
Totally.
We see Trump often depicted in like these heroic poses, almost like a conquering hero.
Right.
And there's a really heavy emphasis on patriotic imagery.
And that's a key observation because those design elements weren't accidental.
Right.
They were carefully chosen.
Right. To project a specific image of Trump and his presidency.
Yeah.
One that resonated with his supporters and alienated his detractors.
So it's not just like what events are being commemorated,
Right.
but also how they're being presented.
Exactly.
Like on the coins that contributed to the controversy.
Yeah.
It all feeds into this perception of like a personality cult building up around Trump.
And we can't forget about the economic aspect of all of this.
Right.
These coins, especially the unofficial ones, were often produced in limited editions, and they sold for like exorbitant prices.
Yeah.
Which raises some interesting questions about the motivations of the companies that were producing them.
It makes you wonder if they were like genuinely responding to a market demand.
Right.
Or actively trying to capitalize on the political fervor,
Yeah.
even if it meant further dividing the country?
It's hard to say for sure,
Right.
but it definitely adds another layer to this whole discussion.
Were these coins simply expressions of support, or were they part of something bigger? Like a more calculated effort to profit from this, deeply polarized political landscape.
Right.
Something to think about.
Yeah,
It really is.
for sure.
And, that leads us to another really interesting aspect of this whole Trump coin band.
Okay.
Their role as like cultural markers,
Uh-huh.
almost like little badges of identity for Trump supporters.
Yeah, the source material talks about how, for some people, owning these coins wasn't just about showing support for Trump. It
Right.
was about like aligning yourself with this whole set of values and beliefs, like the America First ideology.
Oh, for sure. You're absolutely right. It was about like belonging to a movement, being part of something bigger than yourself.
Right.
These coins became a way for people to, visibly express their allegiance and connect with other people who thought the same way.
Like wearing a Magi hat.
Yeah, totally.
But maybe even more so because there's this sense of exclusivity with some of these coins,
Right.
especially those limited edition ones,
Oh, yeah.
that were sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars.
Yeah. It's a great comparison, and it really speaks to that whole psychology of collecting. Like the desire to own something rare and valuable that sets you apart from everyone else.
Right.
It's like a secret handshake for a select group of people.
Yeah, and it's interesting how this all played out in real time. These weren't like historical artifacts that people were digging up and collecting years later.
Right.
This was happening like as events unfolded.
Right, as it was all happening. Yeah. And that adds a whole other layer to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It was about reinforcing your identity, like in the moment,
Uh-huh.
making a statement about where you stood on the issues of the day.
Right.
And it wasn't just happening in private collections either.
Oh, really?
People were carrying these coins around, showing them off,
Wow.
using them to start conversations.
It's like they became a form of currency in their own right.
Totally.
Not just, like a monetary value,
Right.
but a social and political one as well.
Exactly. They transcended their material value and became symbols of something much larger, a reflection of the deep divisions and passionate beliefs that really characterized the Trump era.
So where does that leave us now? Trump's out of office. Those particular coins aren't being minted anymore.
Right.
Are they just like relics of a bygone era at this point?
I think their significance goes way beyond that.
Okay.
The Trump coin band, whether you love it or hate it,
Uh-huh.
it offers this really unique snapshot of this turbulent and deeply consequential period in American history.
They're like little windows into a very specific time and place.
Yeah.
They capture the energy, the emotions,
Uh-huh.
the controversies that defined his presidency.
Absolutely. They're historical artifacts for sure, but they're also conversation starters.
Yeah.
They can spark debates about nationalism, populism, identity, politics, all those big ideas that were swirling around during his time in office.
And those conversations are still relevant today.
Oh, for sure.
We're still grappling with many of those same issues,
Absolutely.
still trying to make sense of what happened and where we go from here. It really makes you think about all the everyday objects that
Yeah.
we're surrounded by, and wonder what will people in the future like make of these things.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
History often focuses on like the grand events and the big important people.
Right.
But sometimes it's those smaller, seemingly insignificant objects that end up telling a more nuanced and like personal story about a particular time.
And the Trump coin band is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
On the surface, they're just coins.
Right.
But when you dig a little deeper, you uncover all these layers of meaning
Uh-huh.
about political identities,
Yeah.
social divisions,
Yeah.
and even the power of marketing in like the digital age.
It's a reminder that history is being made all around us, Even in the objects that we just totally take for granted.
Uh-huh.
Who knows what seemingly ordinary things from our time
Right.
will end up in a museum someday,
Yeah.
telling the story of like who we were and what we valued.
It's like a scavenger hunt through time, just waiting to be discovered.
Totally.
It's pretty fascinating.
Absolutely. And it encourages us to look at the world around us
Yeah.
with a more curious eye,
Uh-huh.
to consider the deeper meaning behind all those symbols and objects that really shape our lives.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of unpacking this whole Trump coin ban phenomenon today.
I think so.
We explored what they are, why they spark so much controversy,
Mm-hmm.
and what they might teach us about the cultural and political landscape of, their time.
And I think maybe even more importantly, they've given us a framework for understanding how even the smallest objects can reflect like the larger forces that are at play in society.
So the next time you see a coin or a T-shirt
Hmm.
or a bumper sticker,
Right.
or even just like a meme that someone is sharing,
Yeah.
take a moment to consider the deeper meaning it might hold.
Uh-huh.
What does it say about their beliefs, their identity, their place in the world?
Because those seemingly small things can often tell us a lot about the bigger picture.
Yeah,
And who knows? They might even become a valuable piece of history someday.
great insight.
Yeah.
That's definitely food for thought for our listeners.
Thanks for joining us today.
And to you listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What objects in your own life might carry similar weight and meaning? What stories will they tell about you and your time?
Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.